Hi, I'm Kale Kettle. Welcome to the Book Chain Project, episode 15. We are pretty much halfway through our year, and before we move on to our interview with Danielle Brown and Bryony Pearce, please do remember that we are accepting submissions for next year's series. If you want to go to www.kalekettle.com and apply, if you're an author or a publicist, then please do. We are supporting traditional authors, YA, middle grade, non-fiction, anything for children really, and we'd love to hear from you. So www.kalekettle.com. Follow the links to the Book Chain Project. And without further ado, I'm going to pass over the mic to Danielle Brown, who will be interviewing Bryony Pearce. And Bryony has written some amazing, scary stories, and her new book, Raising Hell, is out with Little Tiger now.
Hi, just waiting for Bryony. See if we can find her. Oh. Oh, just waiting for Bryony. So I think she may be. Lots of anticipation here. Yeah, I can. Bryony's just messaged. She's aha. Okay. Oh. Got love technology. Fun stuff. Hi Bryony, I can see you. You've joined up. I sent you a request. Oh. Bryony, I think if you accept my request, we should be good to go. There we go. Fingers crossed. Hi.
The request just kept timing out and going and kicking me off again.
Hello,
I don't know what that was. Sorry. Hi.
No worries. It's great that you are here. Thank you so much for joining. Super excited about this. So yeah, before we start with the interview, we will go into all the housekeeping stuff. Okay. So I'm Danielle, the author of Run Like a Girl, and last week I was interviewed by Louise Gooding, fantastic author of Just Like Me, which is about 40 physically and neurologically diverse people around the world. So super book. And we are continuing the book chain today with Bryony Pearce. So Bryony has written fantastic book, Raising Hell. I've read it. Fantastic, really, really good. Oh, there it is. Looks super. And yeah, so this interview may contain spoilers if you haven't already read it. And yeah, just to let you know that this video will be recorded for YouTube and podcasts, so we won't be able to stop and say hello or answer any questions. Cool. So good to go. Bryony, it's really, really great to see you here. And it'd be great to know a little bit more about you and your book.
Okay, so Raising Hell is actually my 9th young adult novel. It is about a teenage girl called Ivy who does a very stupid thing and basically ends up tearing a rift in reality, I guess, which enables dark matter to come into the world and takes the form of black magic. So basically any teenager with the wherewithal to cast a spell suddenly finds them working, and Ivy is trying to stop that happening, basically. So she has her grandmother's soul trapped in a cat, so she has a talking cat containing the soul of her grandmother, and she has a machete and not much else but her wits to kind of defeat all the darkness. And there's an evil political party trying to take advantage of the situation, and there are teenage witches and hellhounds and zombies and lots of exciting stuff, ghosts, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Oh,
and yeah,
I loved it when I read it. It was so fast paced, and it was just, as you said, with Ivy, I mean, the situation just seemed to get worse and worse for her, you know, which was just, it was really, really great, and you never knew what to expect next. And yeah, she's such a badass character. I mean, where did the inspiration come from?
She's a mix of things, definitely. I'm a huge Buffy fan, so there's a lot of Buffy in there. Not you know, partly inadvertently, but she definitely popped up in there. There's a lot of my daughter in there. There's some of me in there as well. I actually had arthritis for a long time, and I was on crutches for many years. And you know, Ivy spends quite a lot of the book hobbling around on her crutches, having been shot. So there's a little bit of my my crutch technique in there in Ivy. But really, I think she's a little bit of everyone who kind of ends up in a bad situation trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I loved, I have to say, the crutch things. I use crutches to get around permanently. So it was just so nice to see a character actually using crutches, because yeah, it's sort of very, very, very invisible, I suppose, when it comes to literature. So that was awesome. But if you go right back to the start, what was it that made you want to be a writer?
Oh gosh, I'm one of these people who wanted to be a writer for as long as I can remember. I don't remember not wanting to be a writer, so it's very hard to tell you what kicked off that desire. I can only assume it was loving books as a child, and as soon as I found out that they were things that were actually created by actual people, I wanted to be one of those people that created them. So, but I had this feeling that authors were like these incredible special people that kind of were born magical, or, you know, had fairy dust sprinkled on them or something. So I didn't actually start trying until 2004. Before that, I was working in London as a market research professional. Fun. So I ended up just really trying. I did a short story writing course with the London School of Journalism, and then I wrote my first novel after that, but with no intentions of trying to get it published at all. I just wanted to know whether I could write a full novel. And once I'd finished it, I kind of thought, actually, I quite like this. I might just try and get it published. So I kind of fell into it a little bit that way, but it was always what I wanted to do. Always. So Yeah.
Oh, amazing, amazing. And you said this is your 9th YA novel, and you've written adult novels as well, haven't you? So you've had quite a long career so far.
Well, it'll be 10 years in July, actually, from publication of my very first novel, Angel's Fury. And my adult, here it is, my very first adult novel was published in April. And the second one is with the publisher and coming out in spring. So that'll be 11 books in 10 years, which I'm pretty proud of. That's pretty good.
Oh, amazing, amazing. I love it. I love it. I love a good anniversary.
Yes.
So, yeah, what's the favourite thing about Raising Hell?
I think for me, it was the fun of writing it, and there's a lot of fun in it. Although it does deal with some serious issues like loss and grief, it does it in such a way that it is, like I say, witches, hellhounds, ghosts, zombies, all these incredibly fun things. And I guess I was writing it obviously as COVID, you know, global pandemic was hitting its stride, and it provided, I don't want to say light relief, but it was such a joy to write that it gave me it gave me an escape. And obviously elements of COVID crept in because that's what was going on in the world when I wrote it. And certainly the zombies are kind of an analogy for COVID, you know, spreading through the population as the zombie plague spreads through the population. But it was, you know, there was so much fun in it, you know, writing dialogue with her grandmother, the cat, and writing her relationship with Nicholas, and, you know, coming up with the twists and turns. It gave me a lot of joy. So that, I guess, was what I liked about it, just the process of writing it.
Yeah, and I knew something for me, you know, when you open it up and the very first words or the acknowledgement to the class of 21 the word zombies. Yeah, I love that. And I set the scene for really sort of sassy characters. I thought was simply brilliant. So
it's great, and they've done such a beautiful job with the interior. I mean, even the inside cover's beautiful, and all of these sigils that actually start each chapter. So each chapter has a sort of a sigil on the top. They're all I properly researched them. They are actually signs and sigils for protection and you know, good health and safety, and they're just you know, if you believe in that sort of thing, potentially you're carrying around lots of kinds of lovely good karma when you're carrying around this book.
Oh, amazing. I love it. So what's your favorite thing about being a published author?
Oh gosh, wow, being able to write, I mean, I love it so much. It's what brings me happiness, and being a published author enables me to do that legitimately, you know. If I want to go and sit in a room and write, I can say to people, you know, it's my job, I have to do it, off I go, bye, you know, don't disturb me. If I was just doing it as a hobby, I don't think I'd be people wouldn't let me do that. And you know, I love meeting fans, you know, especially writing for young adults. You know, teenagers can be the best fans. You know, they'll come up to you and say, I've read your book 6 times already and it's only been out 2 weeks. You know, I'm not kidding. Like, they really have said that, you know, and, oh, it changed my life. And you just, to feel that you've managed to put that out into the world is just a hugely joyous thing.
Yeah, I get that. And last week with the interview with Louise, you know, we were talking actually about the books that influenced us when we were growing up, and I was saying to her, for me, you know, having a really strong, powerful female character, you know, when I was growing up, was just so empowering, and you could lose yourself in the story, but you got that amazing role model and you know, sort of just a different perception or sort of reality for women. And I think, you know, when you sort of look at Ivy as a character, she's so strong in so many ways, but also quite vulnerable. So yeah, I can totally get how teenagers would really resonate with that.
Yeah, I mean, your own book is hugely empowering for girls as well. You know, Run Like a Girl is just page after page of these incredibly real empowering women, you know, which I think is something that you know, was missing when we were growing up. We didn't have that. I mean, one of the reasons I think I enjoyed Buffy so much as a teenager was because it was that she's a normal girl and yet she has a lot of power and a lot of strength. And oddly, you know, I think the world in a lot of ways has gone backwards, you know, the way that women are presented in the media, and you know, we aren't often presented with a lot of power and strength. So it's really nice to see people pushing that narrative.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and thank you. Well, yeah, and I totally, you know, that came across really strongly in your work. I felt that, you know, it was, you've got this really cool story, but you've got those sort of really important messages underneath as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I like writing YA, is that you can tackle these issues, but you can hide it underneath reincarnated fallen angels or ghosts or like I say, hellhounds and zombies, and you know, you can have a lot of fun with the framework that you use to actually talk about things that are significant. I mean, it's how science fiction started. Science fiction was very much dealing with, you know, really big issues and concerns about what the future was going to look like. But they, you know, particularly under things like McCarthyism and stuff in America, they couldn't be obvious about what they were saying. So they threw a load of spaceships around it. And, you know, in a lot of ways, that's what we do writing YA. We throw a load of fantasy around actually quite serious issues that we want to talk to teenagers about, and or sort of generate a discussion around. Not that all YA is fantasy. It's not, of course. There are some very serious, hard-hitting YA novels. But I think one of the lovely things about YA is that you can find serious, hard-hitting things in what seems to be light literature. So, yeah. It's a
that's
great
really
genre.
really interesting. And I think as well, I mean, you've already sort of mentioned the influence of COVID, but particularly your book dealing with themes of grief, I think is something at the moment I think is definitely needed and really important to get those messages out there.
Yeah.
Cool. So what does literary success mean to you? What does it look like?
Well, because I've been doing this for 10 years, a lot of what I wanted at the outset, you know, I've achieved. I've seen my book on shelves. I've won some awards. I've, you know, gone to second print runs. I've sold to foreign countries. Honestly, I'd quite like just now a lot of money. And that sounds very mercenary, but actually what that would mean would be for me to say, I'm just going to be able, you know, very few writers can just write as a full-time occupation. And, you know, I'm not one of those. And, you know, it would be great if literary success would mean being able to write as a full-time occupation and make a decent living out of it. That's what it would mean to me, because I'd be able to do it without feeling guilty, you know, and that would be awesome.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. Yeah. And I can only dream. I'm right at the beginning of my career, so I can only dream of the awards and the things like that. But no, I get it. I get it. But I suppose me, you know, being quite a newbie to this, and you're way more experienced. I suppose what I'm quite interested to learn, I mean, my background is Paralympic sport. And that started as a hobby. You know, I never intended to become an athlete. It just happened. And all of a sudden my hobby became my career. And very much at the minute for me, writing now is a hobby, which, you know, I love doing. I'm so passionate about it. And yeah, I'm just, you know, when it becomes a career with archery, some of that passion ended up, you know, with the stress and the pressure. It was always there, but it kind of diminished a little bit, and I didn't do it almost for me anymore. Do you ever worry with that sort of, if you were a full-time writer and you were getting all that money and you were able to do it, do you ever worry that that passion might dry up?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years, and she says again, 10 years, and I still love it as much, you know, to have a really good writing session, sit down, have a day's really positive writing, feels as awesome as it did the first time. I mean, it has to be the same for you, you know, with your archery, hitting the target probably feels just as good now as it did the first time you did it. I mean, I'm guessing, is that the case? Or are you like, oh, another bullseye, whatever?
Yeah, a bit of both. Sometimes it's enjoyable, but I think for me, it's the stress, the pressure. I guess I stopped doing it for me and started doing it, you know, because it was a job towards the end. So, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, writing is already a job for me. It's just not a job that I can earn, you know, that I can live on. You know, one day it would be awesome if it was. But yeah, it's still a job, you know, I do earn money from it. But I have to subsidize it in a lot of ways, and just being able to get rid of all the things I do to subsidize it and just do it would just be, that would be literary success. That would be literary success.
Oh, awesome. Well, yeah, I'm wishing you all the best with that. Yeah. So what's the best way you find to market your books?
Oh, wow. You know what? The world changes so fast, particularly when you're writing for young adults. You know, when I first started, there was no TikTok, there was no Instagram, you know, Twitter was, you know, kind of there, but no one really knew what to do with it. I built my own website. It wasn't awesome. And gradually over the years, things like having my own blog happened, and then I get active on Twitter, and you do interviews with bloggers and reviewers, which, you know, who are all fantastic. But you know, things like, I've just started on TikTok. I've in the last few days really putting on writing tips. I'm putting on videos of writing tips onto TikTok, and so because it moves so fast, it's really hard to tell what works really well. You know, I can't tell you yet if the TikTok videos are going to have any effect. With the Twitter, for example, you know, I don't know what the conversion rate is from my followers to people who buy my books. It's a really, publishing is a weird one, because we don't really get you know, sales figures regularly enough to be able to say this piece of marketing created that spike in book sales. You know, we maybe get sales figures once every 6 months or once a year. So something you might have done at the beginning of 6 months might have created a spike in sales figures, but you really can't know that. I've done other stuff. I've done radio. I've, you know, been in magazines. I've done, you know, I've been in local papers, and I just, I think what's probably worked the best, though, in terms of marketing, she says, coming finally to a conclusion, is school visits. Because you visit a school and you gradually, you build up, and maybe you get 50 fans from a school visit who buy books, but then maybe they go on to tell their friends and they buy books, and maybe they buy your next book, and it's a case of gradually, I think, with young adult, building a loyal audience. And that, I think, is probably what works best, and why young adult authors have been so affected by COVID, because we haven't been able to go into schools and make those direct connections with teenagers that are so nice, you know, and why perhaps we're starting to lean more on things like TikTok and Instagram, where we at least feel like we're talking to them in some way. But it's not the same as a face-to-face connection that, you know, is so nice at a book signing or a visit.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been tough, that, hasn't it? But yeah, really great, I suppose really great feedback, that, and in terms of school visits and what to do. Yeah, and I just imagine as well, obviously great way to market the book, but also, you know, the fact you're going there and you're speaking to young people and really having an impact, you know, I guess as well as the actual book side of things, that must just feel so rewarding as well.
Yeah, it is. It can be so rewarding, you know, especially if someone comes and says, you know, I've had people say to me, I didn't read, I hate reading, and I bought your book and I loved it, and now I've gone to the library and I've got a big pile of books to read. And, you know, you've made a positive impact on that person's life, and it's just fantastic. It really is.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it's an honor to be a young adult author.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So into research now. What kind of research do you do? How long do you spend researching before you start writing?
It depends a lot on the book. Raising Hell, because we're talking about Raising Hell, is an urban fantasy. So a lot of it obviously is made up. It's set in London, where I used to live. So I didn't need to do too much research in that respect. The research that I did was things like looking for spells that Ivy could cast, looking for Latin phrases, looking up those signs and sigils that are on the chapter headings, looking for Bible quotes that she could use, looking up the ritual for exorcism, you know, the bell, book and candle that she uses. That's the kind of things I looked up for this book. For other books, I've done much more extensive research, looking into historical references, or, you know, for my first one, Angel's Fury, I did a lot of research on reincarnation, on the rise of Hitler, on how to shoot a gun, on how to assemble a gun. I mean, so much research. So I tend to research kind of as I'm going along. But because I'm such a careful planner, that does mean that I have to allow a little bit of leeway for finding something awesome in my research and adding it into my story as I go.
Sure.
Love
so yeah, in terms of your whole style, then, before you actually get to writing the book, is it all planned out and whatnot?
I'm the world's most strict planner. Which I've said before in interviews, I come up with the idea, then I'll write a one-page synopsis, then I'll write a chapter outline with sort of a paragraph of what's going to happen in each chapter, then I start writing. So I'm very clear about what's going to happen in the story as it goes on. Yeah.
Wow, honestly, I dream of being that organised. I make it up as I go along. So yeah, well, that's really good advice, to be fair. Yeah, I just sort of go for it. But yeah, I definitely think I need to be more organised. So I like that structure.
When I started writing, I had babies. So you know, in fact, when I was getting feedback on Angel's Fury. Yeah, Angel's Fury. I was in labour with my son, and actually I was on the crutches. I was 9 months pregnant, and I'd been to the meeting with the publisher for them to decide whether or not they were going to buy it. And then they came back to me and she said, you know, I've got all these editorial notes. Do you want them? I was like, yeah, fantastic. So we arranged to have this phone call on the 22nd of December 2008, and my son decided to be 3.5 weeks early, and so I went into labour, and I was on this phone call with my publisher, with my editor, kind of trying not to let her know that I was in labour, because I really wanted this book deal. So I was kind of taking the phone away and kind of having a contraction and telling her I was, I may go quiet every so often, it's because I'm taking notes, So, and then I had to kind of rewrite the whole thing while Riley was a newborn. And yeah, and then the next book was written obviously when I had a toddler and a baby, and you don't have an awful lot of time. So being a careful planner means that you can really structure your time well, and you can be very clear about what's happening next in a chapter. So when you kind of make it up as you go along, fly by the seat of your pants, as they call it in the industry, very, very legitimate way of writing. But I think that what you kind of tend to have to do is reread some of what you've written, get back in the groove, and then kind of work out where the story's going. Simply don't have time to do that. If you know that you've got half an hour while they're taking a nap, you've got to be writing in that half an hour. You can't just be kind of nicely getting back in the mood. You've got to be able to sit down and go, right, I've got 3, whoa, she said, cracking the phone off the thing. I've got to write 3 paragraphs. Go, go, go. So it was a bit of a case of necessity was the mother of invention, in terms of my planning. And now the kids are older, which is awesome. But the habits are embedded now. I don't think I could fly by the seat of my pants if I wanted to.
Fair enough. No, that's amazing, and really good to understand your writing process. And I can't believe that our half hour is up. Like,
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I just talk and talk.
No, it's been absolutely super to interview you. And I believe you're back next week, are you? Carrying on the book chain?
I am. I will be doing the interview next week. So James Nichol, The Apprentice Witch series. So very exciting. It's an awesome book, awesome series of books. So very much looking forward to talking to James.
Oh, that sounds very, very exciting. Cool,
yeah.
Cool.
Witches. So very thematic. What flows nicely from mine.
Yeah.
Although mine's kind of trying to stop witches, and his are all about learning to be witches. So.
Oh, I like it. I'm sure you'll be able to compare notes. That sounds brilliant. Well,
yeah,
definitely tune into that next week. And I will catch up with you, Bryony, offline, and hope everyone has a great night.
Thanks, Danielle. It's been a real pleasure. Awesome interview.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. So yeah, no, it's awesome talking to you before. Now we're going over to the quickfire bit. So what's
like I'm on a quiz show?
Oh, I know.
Like on a quiz show.
Exactly. What's your favourite writing music?
I don't. I write in complete silence. I actually like to put myself in the place of my character, and when I write mentally, I pretty much have a film going on of the action in the story, so music would really detract from that. I'm very much a no music, total silence writer. Sorry.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah Cool. Yeah, I use music really to channel different moods and how I'm feeling. So if I want to target a specific mood, I'll listen to specific music. But yeah, it's really interesting.
I would just find it distracting. I'd end up singing along. I'd be there kind of going like this to Gang of Youths and not actually working. So
Fair enough. Oh, now, would you rather give up meat or give up dairy?
I am vegetarian, so not a difficult question. I would meat. Bye for everybody. Everybody should be vegetarian. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I've moved on to flexitarian, so getting there.
Getting there. Very good.
So yeah, 5 days a week, but yeah,
Gosh, dairy wouldn't be a huge problem either. When my son was born, he had lactose intolerance, a dairy allergy, and silent reflux. Fun. And I was breastfeeding, so for a couple of years, because he wouldn't take the Nutramigen. So the whole time I was breastfeeding, I couldn't have dairy at all of any kind. If I had even the tiniest bit, he would be so unwell. So I've also, you know, had a couple of years off dairy too. So that would be easy enough. I do like chocolate though. So.
Yeah, chocolate and cheese for me. Yeah, I don't mind giving up milk so much, but that would do it for me, I have to say. What would your top advice be for 15-year-old Bryony?
Ooh, so much advice. Oh my goodness. Oh, crikey. I had such low self-esteem. I'd really like to have gone back and told her that, you know, things weren't as bad as she thought they were. To believe in herself more, and to, you know, put herself out there a little bit more. I was very, very shy. And, you know, I was the kid in school who was kind of hiding behind the book in the library. And yeah, you know, I'd like to have, I guess, pushed myself a little bit more. So yeah, believe in yourself, I would have said. Believe in yourself.
I totally resonate with that. Totally. Yeah, it sounds a very similar description to me at that age. I think partly because of the disability, it sort of fractured my self-esteem at that time. You know, you're figuring out who you are, what you want to be and do. And yeah, but I was very much nose in a book all my lunch times at the school library. But it's such good advice, isn't it? Just to have that belief in yourself at that age. I think it does set you up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hesitate to say get out of the library, because libraries are awesome and we're very pro, but maybe a couple of lunchtimes out of the library would have benefited me. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't be here today. So
well, exactly. Now I always hate this question, so see if you can do better than me. If you're stuck on a desert island, you can only take one book. What do you pick?
Can I take a complete works? Is that cheating?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, it's a difficult one, because I do love my Chaucer and my Shakespeare and my T.S. Eliot and my Ezra Pound. So, you know, one of those complete works. But then I'm also a huge fan of Terry Pratchett.
Oh yeah,
and he's the one author, you know, I don't know if you have an author where you can get to the last page and then flip back to the first page and start reading the book again. Terry Pratchett's that author for me. So it would be, you know, I'd probably take Terry Pratchett Jingo. That said, it would be much more useful to take some kind of Bear Grylls survival guide, wouldn't it? That would be the most sensible answer.
It would. But I suppose if you're carting a book of your choice to a desert island, is it are you in a sensible situation?
I suppose it slightly depends if the desert island, if I'm there voluntarily for a break, or if I've been kind of stranded there in a survival situation. Yes.
Yeah. No, I always try and cheat on that question, but I don't think Kindle's allowed. But
yes, good point. That's like the complete works. That is the cheating answer. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really interesting to hear your answer there, actually. So I suppose you do quite a lot of you know, the sci-fi stuff, the fantasy stuff, the urban things, but all the ones you listed in terms of the works were quite sort of old and classical.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a mix, I'll be honest.
Oh, I love it.
I did English literature at university, so I think a lot of the stuff I fell in love with then, you know.
Yeah. Oh, now choice. Marvel or DC?
Marvel. It's not even a question. just Marvel.
Just
Don't
Marvel.
even know how anyone could even find that any kind of dilemma.
Oh,
They have the best characters, and Marvel, the films have been so much better than the DC films, and you know, there's some really fantastic new Marvel characters coming out in the films that have been brilliant. And yeah, I think they do better with feminism and stuff as well in Marvel, and diversity and stuff than they do in DC. I may be wrong, but yeah, I'm very Marvel all the way.
I love it. Yeah, for me, I think Marvel probably just edges it. Yeah, I put out some fantastic series, don't they? And I mean, I do like the DC series, but I think, yeah, the Marvel films definitely edge it.
Definitely. And the Marvel series, even, you know, that they've just started doing, just fantastic. You know, I'd always rather watch. And actually, no, they haven't just started doing, you know, things like Jessica Jones, which was fabulous. That first series with David Tennant
last night.
Oh, you're gonna love it when it really gets going and David Tennant turns up. Just absolutely brilliant. You know, I'd rather watch that than Arrow or Supergirl any day.
Oh, cool. Yeah, well, I did quite like Arrow, but you know, I suppose yeah. If you had to eat one piece of food and one drink for the rest of your life, or one meal, what would it be?
One meal. Oh my goodness. I love Thai food. I really love Thai food. So like pad Thai or Thai red curry with tofu. New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc for the drink, or water. Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you'd get very sick of it every day for the rest of your life, wouldn't you? But yeah, I do like Thai food and white wine.
Thai food and white wine. Cool. I have to admit, I think I you know, especially with that book question, I think I must find all the loopholes, or, you know, feel a bit of a cheat, because yeah, I'd say Mediterranean, but that covers so much.
It's a cheat. I like it.
Cheat. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's like one of those things, isn't it? People, oh, what's your guilty pleasure with food? And I just love food. I love cooking it. I love eating it, and growing it as well. You know, just it's so tough. But yeah, for me, it'd probably be pasta and drink tea, maybe tea.
Very good. Yes. I do like a nice tea. I don't drink caffeine. I haven't drunk caffeine for over 20 years, but I do drink Red Bush.
Yeah.
So, and there's a company called Bird and Blend, which do these incredible Red Bush infusions. They're just amazing. So yeah, I do have some nice teas in my shelves.
Check those out. You sound so healthy, vegetarian, no caffeine.
I eat lots of chocolate and drink lots of wine though, so
I've got to cancel it out somewhere.
Yeah.
Cool. What was your favourite children's book growing up?
Oh my goodness. I'm going to say one, and no one is going to have heard of it, and I'm going to sound so weird, but it was called Havelock the Dane, and it had a purple cover, and it was basically a Danish folk story, sort of novelised version, and I must have read it over and over and over and over again. And I think I have this real love for mythologies from other countries, always have done. You know, Greek, Roman, Aztec, you know, Mayan, you know, you name it. And I think it came from that initial love of this Danish folk tale that I just was obsessed with as a kid.
Oh, I love it. That's really neat. And it's
so random.
Yeah, but it just amazes me to think how much influence of what you read at such an early age has on the rest of your life. You know, that, yeah. Yeah, mine, well, I suppose when I was really young, it was Mog the Cat.
Oh, yes.
Back in the day, but yeah. I also really liked the you know, the true crime things. Like I had this book that I got in Scotland, and it was all about Scottish murderers for some reason. Yeah, I don't know, I just loved it. I read that book so many times. Yeah.
I think all young adult writers have this streak of just morbid like fascination. I had a thing with unsolved mysteries and serial killers. I was really fascinated with, you know, Jack the Ripper and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so I similarly, yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I quite like the mythologies, I think, was all like the death and dreadful things that happen to people in them.
Yeah. So last question, and you know, it's got to be sport related. So if you were to try a new sport, what would it be?
I used to do karate, which I really loved. I started it because I wanted, well, we were doing it as a family, me and the kids were doing karate together, but it was also a really great way of making sure my fight scenes were fairly accurate, you know. So perhaps another fighting one. I did boxing recently, which I enjoyed, but then the teacher changed to kickboxing, and I can't do that because I've had a total hip replacement, and that, you know, there are limits to my twisting and jumping. But I would quite like something like fencing, or you know, you do archery. Archery obviously sounds like a lot of fun. Shooting, you know, something like that. Something martial.
Yes. I like
martial.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
it definitely appeals to something inside me. I like hitting stuff.
I just think it's amazing that your hobby is sort of part of your research. I love that. Like, yeah, two birds. That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I've tried wheelchair fencing, just dabbled, you know, when we've been doing training camps, so sort of multi-sport events, like, hey, try this out, and shooting with air rifles, pretty fun as well. But yeah, I've just got myself a paddleboard. So
fun.
I know. Now, I don't think I'm going to be very good at standing up on it, because I have problems standing up on flat ground without falling over. So it may be like a kneel down paddleboard rather than a stand up one. But yeah, give it a go.
And I still think you'd be a lot better than me on it. My balance isn't brilliant at the best of times either. So.
No. And all I really have to rely on is my childhood. I did a level 2 kayaking course, and I was
brilliant.
Special certificate to say I'd achieved more swimming than canoeing. So cool. Well, those are the quick fire questions, and I'm sure the team at the book chain are going to do a super job linking it all together. I'm not sure how they do that bit, but that was really great to talk to you. So I will
Thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoy the interview. Bryony is a legend and has a fantastic fan base and is a great supporter of writing. Next week, Bryony is going to be interviewing one of my favourite humans, James Nichol, who wrote the Apprentice Witch series with Chicken House Books. And he was one of the people who really inspired me early in my kidlit writing career. So I hope that you enjoy hearing from him. See you next week. Bye.